All righty. Well, we're here again today. It's Dawn from Your Life Reinvented Hypnotherapy, and I am joined by Travis. Travis came to me about a month ago regarding some relationship issues. So, when he agreed to have a little conversation with us. So, welcome, Travis.
Hi, Don.
Hi, nice to see you again. Long time no see, right?
Right, since yesterday.
Yeah. So, Travis, I'm wondering if you can share with my audience, like, what made you reach out to me to get in control of these relationship issues that were going on?
So I was at the point of reaching out to you. I was almost to the day and date 6 months out of a relationship, a really bad breakup. I speak about attachment language. I was an avoidant discard.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought I was doing really well. I was in talk therapy since last July, group therapy longer than that, almost a little over a year.
Hmm.
Um, and it was a trip down to Calgary, ironically closer to where you are. That just it just went sideways, and I literally felt like I was back at day one of the breakup, like emotionally, and just an absolute wreck. I remember driving home from Calgary on the phone with my best friend, and we were talking about like he was dumbfounded as to how I could be back at square one.
Hmm.
And so was I, like, just feeling like you failed and, like you're not getting anywhere.
Hmm.
And I think that talk therapy has a place, but it felt like it was just intellectualizing the problem. Like I knew about the to me, talk therapy and hypnotherapy feels like trying to kill a tree by pulling the leaves off a handful at a time,
Hmm.
every week, or digging down like a gopher and destroying the root.
Hmm.
There's no in between. So I distinctly remember on that phone call coming back talking to my friend that, like hypnotherapy or other something hitting the subconscious other than just talking about it needed to
Hmm.
happen. So yeah, it was literally like the second I got back into town, I was Googling and found you. And I think it was the very next day that we had
Yeah, it was
our initial
fast.
consultation. Yeah, it was fast. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you look at the relationship issues, one of the things you mentioned was this repetitive pattern that was happening in other relationships as well. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what you were experiencing, how did it make you feel? Like what was going on?
The repetitive part would be, in me as a fearful avoidant attachment style, constantly um, leaning more on the anxious side, looking for connection from my partner and being threatened, and fear of abandonment and fear of betrayal, um, playing out over and over and over again. And when I look back through, the pattern of relationships, I think we've talked about it, where I feel like men in general don't mature until they're 40. And I think I had three, you know, conscious, mature-ish relationships since 40 that I clearly see that or saw that pattern playing out.
Hmm.
And prior to that, I think it was a lot of shorter relationships where more of my avoidance side was coming out. So there's definitely a pattern there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And before you met with me and knew a little bit more about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, like what were your thoughts on coaching and hypnotherapy, for example?
My only experience with hypnosis was hypnosis shows like in bars and clubs and whatnot. So, that's definitely a stereotype,
Hmm.
probably. Um, this whole thought of, and I've tried to explain this process to other people, and it's difficult to, like, honestly, what I've told them is go and do it, and then
Yeah.
you'll know. Like, it's very difficult to explain. Um, you have these preconceived notions. Oh, I'm going to be asleep. I'm not going to remember anything. I'm not going to, you know, and I can't deny that it works. Like, I don't claim to know how it works, but
Hmm.
you know
I don't know
the
how it works either.
right. But the proof is in the pudding. When you start seeing little things changing, that you know two in particular that we've talked about, like my sleep, and
Hmm.
and most recently, any sort of self-soothing behavior, like a nervous tap of a foot
Hmm.
or rocking back and forth a little bit, to actually consciously all of a sudden become aware of that and go, oh wow, that that popped up. I wasn't expecting that. Other people have said to me just the other day, actually, so, and they were speaking of you, and so she doesn't put another uh, thought or another, replacement thought in your head. And I'm like, no, the way I understand it, the correct message is already inside of me. It's just making my conscious brain listen more to the subconscious brain,
That's
was
right.
the way I understood it.
And
Yeah.
removing that protection, right? Because
Yeah.
remember that unconscious mind, that subconscious mind is trying to protect you and keep you safe from something you don't need that protection from anymore.
Yeah. And it
Right.
was funny. It was funny, not our last session, but the one before, where you said to me, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do today because you didn't want my conscious mind fighting
That's
me. And I said to my friend, I'm like, there's a lot of trust there because, I could pop up like the Manchurian candidate 6 months from now and who knows, right? But, it made sense, right? Like, yeah, you don't want that conscious part ruining or fighting anything.
the
So,
sabotage, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
So I still don't know what you did the second last.
Yeah.
That was the one where I noticed the soothing, like the self-soothing behavior really seemed to all but vanish.
Right.
So,
And that's the thing is like your super conscious mind knows all of your problems, knows the solutions. I know how to communicate with that. You don't need to know, right? You don't need to know, but you do know that these issues aren't conscious that you were having because they kept repeating themselves no matter what you were trying to do. So we needed
yeah.
to do something different, tap into that unconscious, that super conscious mind, right? And so you did a lot of work. We did 6 sessions over a
Six.
month and a half,
Yeah.
6 weeks, and you learned how to do your own self hypnosis, a really powerful technique. So, how did you find the entire experience working with me? Like, what did you enjoy the most? What were the benefits that you got from it the most, would you say?
Number one for me was, I mean, just the sleep alone, just the fact that, for months and months, I had such insomnia, like just a very irregular sleep pattern. I'm wide awake at 3 in the morning and just, that feel like you're mad at yourself, like I can't go back to sleep, you know. And then of course by 4 o'clock the next afternoon, you're dead tired.
Correct. Hmm.
Just that has been, like, what would you say, how been 6 weeks
Yep.
we've
Six
been doing
weeks.
this? Yeah,
Yep.
six solid weeks of 8 hours of sleep every night. The very first hypnotherapy session was very interesting because it was 2 hours. I came out of it very tired.
Hmm.
And that night, for the first time in my life, I remembered every dream that I had from beginning to end with perfect clarity. Yeah, it was neat. Yeah,
Interesting.
that by far has been the biggest benefit for
And
me.
and we talked about that on the consultation, right? Without proper sleep, without proper rest and restore, our rational critical thinking mind doesn't work so well. Everything bums down from there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing else is going to help if you're not getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
And
and then I think I've mentioned to you too. I think if I could go back and do it again, I would, even with that four, I think I would have doubled up on I would have done,
mhm,
Tuesday,
see
Thursday,
me
even if it
more
was,
often,
yeah, even if it was just
short
the
time.
4 sessions that I
Hmm.
booked, just to really compress it,
Hmm.
because that, honest, like you mentioned before, some people have reactions to, you know, what's going on. And I felt like that first session took my entire subconscious and basically just threw it all into my consciousness. Not not in a harmful way, but definitely, like, it was like I described to you, it was like a rubber band being stretched. Like, this is where you've been your whole life.
Hmm.
This is where you're supposed to be. And it had a little bit of a back and then a snap. Like, I had a little bit of a
Hmm.
whiplash.
Yeah, because
So
we're not going around the issues anymore. And I talked to you
it's
about that
right
in
to
the
it.
consultation, right?
Yeah.
No more coping, no more managing. We're not going around anymore. We're going right through. We're
Yeah.
going right through to the root and we're dealing with where it started.
Yeah.
Period.
You're not
Right?
dealing with the symptoms anymore.
That's right.
Now we're getting to the root. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So
exactly.
that first week was a little bit of tumultuous, let's
Hmm.
say.
Yep.
And then, that faded off.
Hmm.
So
And how are you like? in regards to the relationship issues that you originally came to me for, how you were dealing with that breakup compared to how you're approaching your day-to-day living now, moving forward, what would you say?
Now it's more self-centered. It's more the power is back within me. It's not, I'm not outsourcing, you know, how well I'm feeling or, based on what happened with this relationship. Like
Hmm.
it really helped to kind of cut the cord,
Hmm.
to which is hard if you've got an insecure attachment style, you've spent your entire life in this pattern,
Hmm.
right? So it's sort of like that moth to a flame thing where you're going back, you keep going back to that, even though it's really unhealthy for you. And this kind of helps, no, it is unhealthy. And here's a better way. Like it's all within you now. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Taking your power back,
Exactly.
putting
Yeah.
you in the driver's seat,
Yeah.
right? Not these other,
Not the inner
era.
children. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, boy. Yeah.
totally. And I guess when you look at your future, what are you most excited about moving on from this experience?
That I don't have to follow that pattern anymore. Right? Like that pattern, from what I understand from attachment theory, that pattern did serve a purpose because it's an adaptation to help you survive a childhood that maybe wasn't perfect for what your nervous system needed.
Hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily translate into being effective in your adult life. And, I wish I had been able to do this sooner, but, I think we talked about yesterday, I mean, everything in its own time.
Yeah.
You come to these things when you're most open and
When you're ready, the
when
teacher
you're
will
ready.
appear.
Yeah. So moving forward, yeah, it's a lot more freeing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you've come a long way over 6 weeks, a
Yes.
long way.
Yeah.
So, if what would you say to someone watching this now who is currently experiencing these issues that you used to experience? What would you say to them?
Press pause on this video and book an appointment. Stop wasting your time on YouTube looking at the problem and, or whatever. Just yeah, don't delay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I know that, and thank you for sharing that because like you've come so far in so long, and yeah, there's hills and valleys, right?
Yeah. But
Um,
people are noticing. People are
oh yeah,
starting to notice. Yeah. Yeah.
you're getting feedback from others.
Yeah, and I mean, I've even noticed too. Like I'm dressing differently,
Mm,
I'm showing up differently, and it's starting to get noticed.
mhm.
So, these things happen.
You're
It's
being your
someone,
true self.
yeah, someone described it. Someone I follow on YouTube as a glow up from the inside. Like if if you got a rotten core, not that it's a rotten core, but if you just keep putting different makeup and different clothing and different packaging on a bad product, it's still a bad product.
That's right.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's yeah, those commercials that, would you like healthier looking teeth? No, I'd actually like healthy teeth. And then by virtue of the fact that they are healthy, they will naturally look healthy. Yeah.
that's right. When you
So
were saying that, I was thinking about wrapping. You can wrap cars these days, right? So wrapping a rusty car.
yeah. Yeah. It's still rusty underneath. It's
It's
still
still
gonna fall
rust.
apart.
It's
Yeah.
still, yeah, all of a sudden, your door falls off with the
Yeah.
wrap on it, right?
Yeah.
And that's that whole point of getting to the root. And so, you know, I want to say thank you. Thank you for trusting the process. You did this work. I did not. And that's important for me to say again, because I know I've said it to you multiple times. I'm the guide. And and trusting the process and just keep showing up and doing the work. And that's what you did every single week,
Yeah.
right? And that's something I
And
always
it's
talk
not
about now.
hard. You
No,
said, you literally say, you have to actually agree to not do anything. I mean, it's the easiest work you'll ever do. Just lay there and let your mind wander.
that's
And,
right.
and yeah,
Yeah. It's simple and it's quick,
yeah,
right? And so, if you're one of those people right now that are watching Travis's story and wondering if I can help you with the issues that are going on with you, please feel free to reach out and book a schedule, a consultation with me. It is free for an hour. You have nothing to lose, but I only want you to book a consultation if you're truly ready to change, um, because the change will only happen when you're ready. And
Mhm.
so, again, Travis, thank you so much for your time out of your Sunday long weekend and taking that time to share. And so I'm looking forward to connecting with you because we're going to stay connected over the next few months. So I'm going to check in and see how you're doing,
Yeah, that sounds
of
good.
course. And yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next testimonial video, guys. Take care. Bye for now.